start as the owner. Well, guys, 7.3 gassers in the fleet, or in this case, it's a fleet of, well, not really one, but nonetheless, 7.3 Gas has joined the chat. This is a XL STX. It is actually fairly nicely equipped. Does have Apple CarPlay, so I mean, you're kind of getting everything you have anyway. I can cast OnX Maps to Apple CarPlay. That's still a thing. So in the basic truck, we definitely have that. We got our sunglasses holder. We have our normal controls for our overhead lights and, of course, our aux switches. We have, kind of all the normal stuff. This truck does have blind spot monitoring, which I do like. It doesn't really do it doesn't do anything, but it lights the little light in the mirror so that you know that there's something next to you. And I think a nice passive reminder is never a bad thing. I don't like when vehicles grab the wheel and start jerking it around. That I'm not a fan of. But to have a little light tell you that, hey, man, not safe, I think that's perfectly good. So we are already up at 40 miles. The dealership I got it from is a bit of a hike from the house since I live a long ways from a Ford dealership or a dealership in general. I haven't reset this. It says 13 or 11 average, but it looks like, in my older age, I was a hot rodder when I was younger, not gonna lie. And I like to go fast. I don't really go very fast anymore. I'm pretty happy to, tootle around the speed limit or less. Right now we're doing 52, and honestly, I couldn't be happier. 52. So I am looking forward to seeing what kind of hypermiling we can get with this, because, you might say that I have more time in my hands than I need, but then again, I work on cases where people are cut in half and everything else, and, broken legs, and maybe they're alive, but they're miserable. I don't really feel the need to rush anymore. Anything can happen, and I don't want to be on the giving end of hurting someone, and I don't want to be on the receiving end of getting hurt. So I am in a new... I was voted most likely to be speeding in high school, okay? That's when I'm saying, like, I used to be a hot rodder. In my height, for our senior mock elections, I was voted most likely to be speeding. And I was told it was basically a unanimous vote. There may have been one, outlier, but, it was, the whole graduating class voted for me. So, not sure if that's a good thing. Maybe it's not something to brag about, but, you know what? Everything that I did when I was younger made me the person I am now. So, this XL, happily, has regular gauges. And I'll tell you what, call me old-fashioned, I don't want a digital gauge cluster. I like gauges. I like looking at analog gauges. The information screen in the middle gives you plenty of information. We will go through that. Right now, I just have it on fuel economy things. I'm just kind of watching it, get used to it. This truck is 373 gears. Now, I could have worked harder and tried to find one that had 430s, but I think that this is going to suit us in a good way. I think we're going to do fine. We are holding 10th gear without any trouble at 52, which makes me happy. Which is just what I expect, because the Expedition that we have has 373 gears and should have the same gear ratios this does, considering it's basically the same transmission with a lower input torque rating. And I expected it to be, about 1150, 1200 RPM or whatever at 52. That's what we're doing. I liked it. 52 is it's one of my favorite speeds. I think that 52, it gets you places, and at the same time, that extra 3 mile an hour to get you to 55, you'd be surprised how much more drag your vehicle has. So, I like getting good fuel economy, just like anybody else does. Now, let me point out something for new guys, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna title this sort of clickbaity, because I want to have you guys, watch my channel. There'll be some new people watching this. This is not going to be a better tow vehicle than a 6.7 powerstroke. 6.7 powerstroke is an amazing truck. I love mine. I loved mine. Whoever buys my truck is going to get a great truck. It's a wonderful truck. But what I wanted to do was get back into warranty. That means more to me than a lot of things. I wanted to get into a lower rent truck. My truck I ordered before I had a child, before I found out that I was going to be a dad. About 4 months after I ordered my truck, and about 3 weeks before I got my truck, I found out I was going to be a dad. when I got my original truck that I started the channel with and whatever. A lot of things have changed. We now have 2 big hunting dogs, and instead of me going hunting with a buddy to use his hunting dogs, we are now using ours. Which means you got to keep in mind you're bringing, muddy, dirty dogs. You don't need to do that in a Lariat Ultimate. You just don't. No one is giving you any prizes at the parking area where you go hunting for who has the highest trim truck. If they are, they're full of crap, because we've had a great time in every piece of junk truck we ever drove to go hunting. In fact, some of the best times I've ever had in my life were in total piece of junk trucks that were barely running all the way out to go duck hunting or rabbit hunting or something like that. There's no competition there. I do intend on taking this truck and doing some things. I would like to take my English setter out to South Dakota to do some pheasant hunting this year. That is one of the reasons why I got the truck. Now, granted, obviously, the truck 6.7 is going to get better fuel economy. All true. I think that with the 36-gallon tank that this truck is fitted with, that I'll be okay on fuel range, at least acceptable, especially with doing a little bit of hypermiling. Here's the other thing, with S&B having that, what the heck is it, a 58-gallon fuel tank or something like that available, I will probably be looking into that, just because I do plan on doing really long road trips. I am excited to keep this truck for a long time. When the 7.3 was launched, Ford at the same time, which is great for the hobby, launched a crate engine right away. They're already supporting the crankshaft, the rods, the pistons, the block, the heads, if you want to build the motor, the valves, the valve springs, everything. Bolt kit. You can build one, or you can buy a crate motor. They launched this, and Whipple's jumped on board, Pro Chargers jumped on board. I think there's already camshafts out, there's already ported heads. Not that I'm going to necessarily do any of those things, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. This engine screams to be put into a classic Ford truck and do some work stock pulling kind of classes. It screams to be put into a rock crawler or a buggy or whatever. This thing has got applications far out, and I see people putting them in Mustangs, and I guess I'd take a 5-liter or a 5.2 or something, or a 5.4, a dual cam. I'd take a dual cam motor. Now, one of these in a Cobra, nice small motor. It's really tough to fit a Coyote into a Cobra. So I would like to learn a little bit about this engine in a daily driver and potentially start putting these in something else. As the channel grows, I think that this engine could be a really great motor for building cool crap on this channel, because I think they did a pretty good job. It sounded like there was some early camshaft failures. More information is coming out that they seem to be localized around either fleet trucks or trucks with 355 gears if they're in passenger trucks, like a Subaru. I think the explanation for that is, number one, high idle time in a fleet truck. That's just a given. Fleet trucks have miserable lives. You really can't judge an engine too hard on fleet trucks, because even a Cummins doesn't love fleet trucks, okay? They're still replacing Cumminses in fleet trucks. Duramaxes, I mean, you can laugh at Duramax all you want to here and there. It's not a bad motor. Not a big fan of the Allison, but Duramax, pretty good motor. Fleet truck, they're still going to die in half the miles they're going to live in a passenger truck. Same thing with 6.7 powerstroke. They're amazing engines in pedestrian trucks. Put them in a fleet truck, you're going to be seeing higher failure rates. So, getting back a little bit, high idle time seems to be not a good thing for these engines, because I understand that they run a very low oil pressure at idle. And I'm not a big fan of idling at all. I've talked about that in the channel. It's really hard on your engine. You get fuel condensation, you get oil pollution because of it, and moreover, you're going to have a lot less oil flow going to critical points of the engine, especially the valve train. Has been a problem for every V8. Every engine potentially can have a potential oil starvation at idle in the valve train, because it's a long way from the oil pump to get the oil all the way up to the top of the motor, get it all around everywhere where it needs to go. And once you have hydraulic lifters that are gobbling up some of your oil pressure, you really start starving the camshaft and lifters in terms of the rollers. This is going to have roller lifters on it. You start starving those, same thing will happen in a GM truck. Same thing happens with the MDS Dodges when they cut off the oil flow to a couple of the lifters for MDS, burn up the cams. I have 373 gears in this truck. I do understand the problem. I'm going to try and limit idle time, and I'm certainly going, and I hope I'm not making anybody sick. I'm trying to do a good job balancing this. It's a really nice road. I love driving through here, but it is a little bit of hoopty up and down a little bit. So I got this knowing about, I understand camshaft failures. When it first happened, I bitched about it. I was one of the people who was like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. Because in one way it is, and at 2020 trucks had a lot of the total failures happen in 2020 when the engine first came out. You really, guys, unless you're just buying a truck to have fun with it and get rid of it, do not invest your money into a first year body trim deal with a new motor. Do not do it into a first year and think that it's, well, I guess I've heard of people who have first year trucks and they somehow run forever. But then there's just a litany of examples of first year vehicles being electrical problems with mechanical things, like first year for 10-speed in every place that it went. Anyway, so I've covered that Randy's transmission is now building 10 speeds. If I break this, I'm going to have Randy build me a trans. Not worried about the transmission at all, because supposedly they fixed the valve body issue and the RDF drum. Supposedly that seal is improved, and the valve body no longer pisses fluid out the way it shouldn't do. Supposedly they fixed that. So worst case scenario, Randy's Transmissions is building this. Not worried about it. I want to learn about 7.3. I want to find out. I mean, so far, I mean, it's a wonderful engine. I have a V10 Excursion, and I love that truck. It has been the most reliable truck I've ever owned in terms of not breaking parts. It's not the most powerful. I mean, my Cummins is far more powerful, so it broke a lot of parts because it made a lot of power. But the Excursion has been for sure, the most reliable truck in my friend group in terms of beating the tar out of it, and it really never biting me in the butt. So I am a fan of. I am a diesel lover. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but I'm also a gas lover. My V10 Excursion has been a wonderful engine. I love that truck. I love that engine. I love that truck. 2-valve V10 is wonderful. This truck, or this engine, has a wonderful power and torque curve. The V10 has a wonderful torque curve. It drives great. At quarter throttle, you can go anywhere, do anything, pull anything you want to. You might not do it super fast, but you will pull it. The V10 has a wonderful torque curve. This engine has a wonderful torque curve and a wonderful power curve. This thing has got some nuts. The truck's fast. It gets up and goes, does just fine. When we put the Mini behind this, which we'll find out. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the bumper pull rating of this truck is like 22K. So we are now well into safe zone for, and there's a cop watching right there. I don't know how the new Michigan law affects making a YouTube video. Oh well. We have a new law in Michigan about hands-free. You can't have your phone talk on it or whatever. I'm literally just holding the phone, not looking at it, pointing it straight forward. I don't know how that could possibly hurt anybody. Anyway. I am quite pleased with this truck. It is easy to drive if you are an older gentleman, or you drive like an older gentleman, like sometimes I do, or most of the time I do. This thing is wonderful. You ride the torque curve just like an old V10. Tell you what, man, this is the bee's knees. If you like to be an older gentleman and just let the transmission shift and let the motor make torque, and you go on with your day. You're going to watch right here how I drive. I literally slowly bring up the speed. We're going to hit 50-mile-an-hour zone right here, and I'm not going to floor it. We're going to keep talking. I'm going to give it a little bit of throttle just so that the torque does the work, and the truck's going to claw its way up to 55, and then we'll set speed control. We'll keep talking, or 52 maybe. Reminds me of my Excursion. I love my Excursion. It will be back on the road shortly, and we'll be making videos about it. The horsepower curve is more than impressive, more than fantastic, and I recommend you test drive one. Give one a shot. I would not recommend at all that you trade a diesel if you live in the mountains. A gas engine, I don't care how powerful it is going to lose basically half of its power crossing the Continental Divide. I took my excursion across the Continental Divide. My V10 felt like it was a 2-liter Honda VTEC. It was pathetic. A 2-liter Honda VTEC in an excursion. It was bad. It was struggling to hold 45 miles an hour empty. I can't readily imagine towing a trailer or having a gas engine in a motorhome and crossing the Continental Divide. I talked to a guy who does that with a V10 in a motorhome, and he said he crosses the Continental Divide at about 27 miles an hour. Between you and me, I think that's freaking dangerous. I live in flatland. You see around me, I don't have to worry about mountains too much. We do have some decent hills toward Gaylord in Michigan and some decent hills on the west side of the Upper Peninsula. They are beautiful. You should go visit the Lake of the Clouds. Please come visit Michigan. We have beautiful scenery. I would not recommend that you trade your 6.7 Power Stroke for one of these guys if you're towing big stuff regularly, for sure. And frankly, I think, 6.7 is a great engine. I certainly am not going to try and tell you to buy a 7.3 over a 6.7. But if you definitely don't want a diesel, then this is the gas engine to buy, bar none. The 6.4 is not. I had a 6.4 Power Wagon. This thing kills a 6.4 Power Wagon. Kills it. Not even close. And we will be putting a front locker in here on switch number 6. I will call tomorrow and get that sucker ordered so that it can be installed probably in October. We will be locked front and rear. This truck does have the rear locker. It's right there. No big deal. This truck does have drive modes too, which is not what my truck had. And by the way, this is a 2023. Bump. So we have Eco, which is what I'm in right now because I'm being economical. Okay, it's going to shift into 4-wheel drive when I go to other things, but tow haul. We'll watch and see what things change. Normal, slippery road. Does it put in 4? It does. There's 4. And then slippery roads, off-road. Does it turn off any traction control? Oh, you know what it does? In off-road mode, it tries to throw you in 4 low. So that's what it does. So when you go into off-road mode, it looks like it's trying to throw you into 4 low. That's fine. We will test out 4 low tomorrow and find out how impressive it is. My assumption is very impressive. I want to know if this thing goes into 4 low in first gear. Many engines do not go into 4 low in first gear. That is extremely common because there's so much torque made by the engine that if the transmission went into, and you know what, we're going to take this. My buddy's parents live down here. I'm not going to go drop in on them at 8 o'clock at night. But nonetheless, I'm going to go ahead and take this. Kind of stroll down memory lane. My buddy, there's deer right there. They are out in force. That's one downside of taking this road. There are deer everywhere here. The thumb has a lot of deer. And I certainly don't want in the first 53 miles of my truck's life smoking a deer. Anyway, so we got gauges, we got everything we need to have. This is a pet peeve, and if I'm not mistaken, if we go over here, we hit menu, truck info maybe? Truck info? What I want is measurements. Seatbelts, engine hours. And what we want is measurements. So now we get to measurements. Whoopsies, straight dummy. Truck info, vehicle maintenance, settings, select screens. How do we do this? What I'm trying to find is supposedly there's a screen called measurements. That is what I would like to see. Oh, measurements! I love data. Guys. Engine coolant temp, right there for you to see. Transmission temp, engine oil temp. So can you scroll through? How do you, you hit OK to move side to side. Oh, excellent. The boys even gave you battery voltage. I love that because I want to know if I got something going south. So, that is great news. In measurements, you can definitely see battery voltage. and we definitely have important data points right there. So that makes me happy. Maybe if you guys are trying to learn those couple things. This is a F350 with a 11,140 pound GVWR, if I remember correctly, something right around there, okay? So this should have the M275. We'll get under the truck and check and see if it does. I really should have looked at these couple things, but this is the truck that they had there. That was the option, so it wasn't really anything to BS about. But being that this does have the heavy payload package, it very much should have not the Sterling 10.5, which is sad because the Sterling 10.5 was and is a wonderful axle. That is still in production and has been in production since the early 90s as the 10.25. Wonderful axle, very, very strong. The Ford did just announce that they had I think it's the right rear axle shaft of the 10.5 Sterling is recalled. It's only been in production as the 10.5 Sterling since 1999. How did you screw up an axle shaft? My assumption is the batch got dropped. We'll see what actually comes out of all this. My bet is the batch got dropped and they put them in the trucks anyway, and now they're breaking. Hard metal does not like to be dropped. So, we do have a USB 2.0, and I'm trying to get, since I'm driving, I mean, I can't show you everything here, but we do have a USB 2.0 down here and a USB not 2.0. And I'm sorry, it is starting to get dark. When I started the video, because I talk a lot, so we have a 12-volt plug and a 140 or a 120 right there. Sorry, guys. Here, let me back up. Just to the right, underneath the screen, we have 12-volt plug and a wall socket plug, which is fantastic. What is in the road right there? Skid marks. That's always good. So, and we'll go through and be a little bit more detailed with this truck when I'm not driving down the road. So this is one of those towns that you're supposed to slow down for, but there's no actual sign to do so. I usually slow down to 40 because I think it's respectful. But there's not actually a sign to slow down, and there's not actually a 55 mile an hour speed limit sign that tells you to get back going up to 55 miles an hour. Very small town. Very, very small town. Actually, the gas station, you know, the awning that goes on top of the gas station, the big metal thing that goes over top of the gas pumps, it blew over. And they didn't fix it. They just tore it down and threw it away. So, one of those things. Oh, God, there's a deer right there. Oh, man, I shouldn't have taken. That's okay. Anyway, guys, so we do have a gear indicated. One of the things I was worried about with the lower trim truck, it does actually show you what gear you're in, and it does follow 1 through 10 as it's shifting, so you can keep track of that. That's very cool. So, kind of giving you a little bit of a high view. I'm not going to make you guys look at it anymore because as it gets darker, it's literally harder for you guys to see, and also I need to watch for deer. So I'm actually going to kick her down a few notches because I'm not in any rush to get home because I don't want to smoke a deer in my brand new truck that I do truly love. So we will let that lie. I did add a 7.3. It is not, well, here, you guys who stuck around to the end, we will 100% for sure have a 2024 F450 HO powerstroke in race red, also not a high trim level. I am not buying into this whole pheasant bull crap. When I bought my truck, the pheasant thing hadn't started yet, calling people pheasants for not having, pheasants, for not having a high trim truck. I am not about that. Anytime someone can get into a new vehicle, I think that's a wonderful thing. And obviously someone who's a first time new vehicle buyer is already worried, concerned, scared, all those things, because it is a big deal and they should be excited too, I hope, in there as well. If you can't afford a Platinum, who cares? Who gives a shit? Go buy an XL, have a great truck, have a brand new, nice truck that you can be proud of, and whatever. Don't let anyone tell you that you're a pheasant. That's utter bullshit. I'm not going to put up with that. So, don't care. So I went from a Lariat Ultimate 6.7 powerstroke to a XL, whatever the heck this thing is, STX. Harvesting beets. It is beet time here. Good deal. Good job, farmers. Making sugar. Our area makes a lot of beets. And they use these amazing machines. They have specific companies that come in and harvest beets because they have very specific machinery that they use to harvest beets. And they are massive. Big, huge. Oh, they're so cool. Love it. Anyway. We are Yeah, so the F450 is going to not be an STX. I don't even think they make an STX in an F450. Mine will have, obviously, power locks, power windows, no sunroof. So yeah, you guys are stuck around. I'm going to talk just a little bit more, and then we'll let you go. Most of what I wanted to do was get out of the high trim truck and the sunroof. We don't need it. I don't want it. And when my dogs are crawling in here all wet, I don't want to give a crap about it because I'm going to get some nice seat covers for these seats, and they're actually very comfortable. So if you guys are, concerned, I am a bigger guy, so I would be the one complaining, in theory. I'm 6'2", I fit in here great. I have no problems at all. This is a very dangerous intersection. Someone just died here, so I'm just watching and being very careful. A couple months ago, it's very sad. I didn't know them, but they went to my high school. Anyway, it does have an electronic rear window slider, which is right here, just like most trucks have. So yeah, we will go through this because I think it's very cool from the, this is a very lower level truck, and it is honestly very well appointed. And this is ideal for a sportsman. And many people are seeing, and I try and push people, and I'll say it right now, instead of buying some used truck for a piss lot of money of cash, or having to get a really high interest rate loan on a used truck, go get yourself a lower level gas Super Duty. This is a wonderful truck. I mean, I can't think of anything nicer to get up in the morning and go drive to my favorite duck spot or my favorite deer spot or whatever. Instead of worrying about some rusted old thing, it's one thing to have a hunting truck. I have a hunting truck too. Trucks are probably worth $1,200 on a good day. All for that. But be careful when you're paying cash for $14,000, $22,000, whatever. When you can get something for either zero down or a small amount down, and I obviously recommend that you don't risk with zero down because you could go upside down the loan. But to get something that is going to have a warranty, you're not going to have to turn wrenches on it, that it's quiet, has nice lights, so when you're getting up at 2 in the morning to go to your favorite deer spot that you have to drive an hour to, great headlights and all that other fun stuff, and put a topper on it or whatever you want to do. We will probably be putting a topper on this guy because I think this truck, the very serious reason for me getting this specific truck is both tow heavy trailers as a backstop, especially while I'm waiting for the F450, because I picked my buddy wants me to do a job for him with the Mini. So, and we'll see. This is going to be the first, it's kind of exciting. This is the first time I'll be doing a job with Mini. So it's really exciting. Sometimes you need the big break. I got a buddy who needs to move, and he's a very close friend of mine. He's not just some random Joe that, he's a really close friend of mine. I care a lot about him. And he asked me, and it's not always that your really close friends actually want to use you and pay you to do a job for them. And I think a lot of people are going to learn that. If you have a product or a service to offer, you're going to find that your family and friends, the people that you think are going to buy from you, they actually don't, and they actually go and buy from someone else. So consider it lucky that if you have a friend or a relative that supports you or tells you a good job or whatever, because it's actually not that common. In the real world, a lot of people will go in, not support, let's just say someone starts a lawn care company. They'll go in, if their friend has a lawn care company, they'll have a different lawn care company do their lawn. And maybe it's because they don't want to do business with friends for reasons of losing their friendship. I suppose you could make that argument, but it's pretty well talked about that your people who are championing you the most in terms of your entrepreneurial endeavors usually aren't your friends. So keep that in mind. But this truck is going to be a hunting truck for me. When I say that, a daily driver, hunting truck, go get groceries, go hunting, and go travel. So very exciting things. It does have the 250 amp alternator, which I think is a great thing to have. As you can see, these headlights are pretty good. I'm not going very fast because I'm worried about smoking a deer. We have a lot of deer. In fact, our county, not our county, the county adjacent to us, killed the most deer, or had the most logged kills last year, and we were up there as well. So a lot of deer in the area. So hopefully someone enjoyed the video. It's kind of first reactions. One little thing too, if everyone's still sticking around, I'm sorry. The ride in this truck is phenomenal. It's an F350, so it's going to be stiff, but the suspension is smooth. It's quiet. It articulates, very nicely. This truck rides really, really nice. They did a nice job doing the springs on this truck because it's sprung right. And also, too, it's new. One of the biggest reasons I got rid of my truck, as it is a very nice truck, it's a wonderful truck, it has a lot of life left to live, but it's also had a pretty hard life going trail riding. And my bear hunt, I did about 100 miles of really tight, old 2-track logging trails in the 3 days I went hunting. And that really beat the shit out of my truck. I'm not going to lie to you. It really beat the tar out of it. And it needed a full suspension redo. Everything was creaky and whopped out. And that's just the way it is. I mean, you use a truck, and I definitely use mine, and I'm proud to, and this truck too. The thing is, I knew, and I'm comfortable putting like a Carly kit on a truck. The thing is, I asked myself, do I want to put, a $3,000 to $5,000, $6,000? By the time you do, if you were to put their alien arms on, you're at $6,000. By the time you do all that, you just did that to a truck that's out of warranty, that is already pretty beat, not beat up, but it's, I use my truck. It's 61,000 miles of honest use. So I'm quite happy to be in this position. I obviously lucky, happy, pleased. My uncle was able to give me his A plan, so that helps a lot. Always try and ask friends and family to try and get some discounts, and if you can't get that for Ford, you can join, I think, Mustang Club of America. I think Costco membership even gets you, you're not going to get AZ plan, but you're going to get the X plan, which isn't quite as much. On this truck, I think it would have been about $2,400. So the lower plan is still worth $2,400 to you. So definitely worth doing. The brakes feel great. Oh, let this guy go by. The brakes feel fantastic. My truck needed brakes. The brakes on this truck are very nice. Clearly, I mean, obviously, when you have a GVW or GC VWR, gross combined vehicle weight rating, of enough to support. I think this truck, it's a crew cab, 7.3. I don't have brights on, bud. Sorry. Well, there you go, guys. Someone thought that I had brights on when I have regulars on. So clearly the factory XL STX lights are fairly bright. So, thank you guys for sticking around. I am very excited, and I'm happy to share this with you guys. And we will have, obviously the thumbnail is going to have a picture of the truck. Whoa, what the crap? Oh, this truck just blew a turbo or something. Oh yeah, he just blew a turbo. There is smoke rolling out of that exhaust pipe. Whoa! No, I shouldn't be laughing because shouldn't be laughing at someone else's misfortune, but modern, it probably has a Detroit diesel engine because it's a fleet truck, and I bet you it's got a Detroit engine. Those things have been a nightmare. Those DD13s and DD15s, and oh god, they've been a bit of a nightmare from what I've been told from diesel mechanics. Anyway, you guys have 33 minutes. I'm gonna post it anyway. Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in to watch me. And if anybody sticks around, comment that you stuck around. Love you guys. Take care.